There are careers in music, and then there are careers that get tangled up with a star so bright it's hard to see anything else. For decades, millions of people knew Linda Davis, but they almost always knew her in relation to someone else. She was the powerhouse vocalist sharing a stage, the other woman in one of country music's biggest duets, and the trusted friend to a living legend. Her voice was one of a kind, but her story was usually just a chapter in the much larger story of Reba McEntire. Now, after a lifetime in the business, after the whirlwind of #1 hits, industry politics, and moments that changed her life forever, Linda Davis is telling her own story, and it's not about living in a shadow. It's about a unique, powerful partnership that shaped her career, and a piece of country music history. This is what it was like to stand next to Reba, not behind her, when country music was taking over the world. You know, there are things that happen behind the curtain that fans just never get to see. The little moments that don't make it into the magazines or the award show speeches. One of those was a quiet conversation I had with Reba right before we walked on stage at the CMA Awards. The energy in that building was insane. The pressure was suffocating, and my heart was about to beat right out of my chest. Just seconds before the music started, she leaned over and looked me dead in the eye. I'll never forget what she said. But to really get that moment, we have to go back to the beginning. You have to understand how a young singer from Texas ended up there in the first place. Standing on the edge of everything, with a giant of the industry in her corner, long before anyone connected my name with Reba's, I was just a girl from Dodson, Texas, with a big voice and a dream that felt a million miles from Nashville. My journey didn't start under stadium lights. It started in piano bars and tiny local venues, singing my heart out to whoever would listen. I was paying my dues, which sounds romantic but is really just code for being broke, exhausted, and stubbornly hopeful. I'd had a couple of small tastes of the Nashville machine in the 80s, a few singles that made a little noise but never really kicked the door down. The industry calls them minor chart successes, which is a polite way of saying your family was thrilled, but not many other people noticed. I was barely making a living singing demos for songwriters and doing background vocals. But man, what an education. You learn to be a vocal chameleon, to find the heart of a song in a few hours, and deliver a performance that sells it. You learn how to blend, how to harmonize, and most importantly, how to serve the song. But it's also an easy place to get stuck. You get a reputation as a reliable session singer, a great harmony vocalist, but not as an artist in your own right. And that's where I was, kind of floating in the background, thankful for the work, but always wondering, is this it? My husband, Lang Scott, was also in the business playing guitar. So we were a team, navigating Music City, raising our daughter Hillary, and trying to keep that dream alive. And honestly, I had sort of made peace with my career. I had a wonderful family, and I was getting paid to sing. By any standard, that's an incredible blessing. The dream of being the headliner with the tour bus and the fan club. That had started to feel like it might belong to someone else. I figured my path was set. I'd be a respected vocalist in Nashville, a singer's singer, and that would be that. I had no earthly idea that a phone call was about to change, not just my job, but the entire direction of my life. I had no idea. Reba McEntire was about to step into the frame and rewrite my whole story. She was already a superstar, a force of nature redefining what a woman could be in country music. I was just one of thousands of singers. The odds of our paths crossing like that, astronomical. But Nashville's a funny town, where talent, timing, and a little magic can show up when you least expect it. The call came, as these things often do, completely out of the blue. Reba was putting a new tour together and needed background vocalists. Someone had thrown my name in the hat. To say I was shocked is putting it mildly. This wasn't just any tour. This was Reba, in the early 90s. A Reba McEntire show was a spectacle. It was like Broadway crashed into a country concert, costume changes, massive sets, a level of showmanship nobody else was touching. And she was looking for singers. The audition was nerve. You walk into a room, and there she is. Reba wasn't just a star. She was an icon with an aura. But what I remember most is how kind and focused she was. She knew exactly what she wanted, not just in a voice, but in a person. She was building a road family, and you had to fit. When I got the news, I had the job. It felt like I'd won the lottery. That first day on the tour bus felt like the first day of school at the most exclusive university imaginable. I was there as a backing vocalist, and on some nights, I got the incredible chance to be her duet partner on songs she'd already recorded. It was the ultimate education. I started calling it the University of Reba. Forget what you learned playing in clubs. This was the big leagues. I wasn't just singing anymore. I was performing on huge stages in arenas packed with thousands of screaming fans, and Reba was the ultimate professor and the most generous one. She never sat me down for a formal lesson, but you learned everything just by watching her. You learned how to command a stage, how to connect with someone in the last row, how to pace a 2-hour show so it takes the audience on a real journey. She taught me about things the public never sees, like how to handle the media, how to answer questions without giving away your whole soul. She taught me the art of the meet and greet, how to make every single fan feel like they matter, even when you're exhausted. She'd say, they waited in line for 2 hours for 30 seconds with you. You owe them those 30 seconds. That was a lesson in grace and professionalism I've carried with me my whole life. Life on the road was a blur of highways, hotels, and arenas, but it was also a place of incredible friendship. Reba built a team that was loyal, talented, and worked their tails off. We were her road family. She expected excellence, but she was also incredibly supportive. She knew your name. She asked about your family. She actually cared. That's rare. For a star that big to be so grounded was a revelation. I wasn't just watching a masterclass in stardom, but in leadership. I was absorbing everything, growing more confident with every show. I was still Linda Davis from Texas, but I was also part of the Reba machine, and then came the song that changed everything. The story of Does He Love You is a Nashville legend, and I just happened to be standing in the middle of it. The song had been floating around town for a long time. The brilliant Sandy Knox and Billy Stritch wrote it way back in 1982. It was this classic, dramatic country ballad, a story of two women in love with the same man, designed from day one to be a vocal duel between two female singers. For over a decade, it just sat on a shelf, waiting for the right voices. Reba heard it and knew it was a smash. She wanted to record it for her Greatest Hits Volume 2 album. The concept was a piece of musical theater on a record. The only question was, who would sing it with her? From the very beginning, Reba wanted me. I was in her band, she knew my voice, and she believed I could go toe-to-toe with her on it. She came to me and said she wanted me to be her duet partner. I was floored. This wasn't a background part on tour. This was a feature on a Reba McEntire album. It was the kind of shot that can make a career, but there was a big problem. The record label, MCA Records, was not sold on the idea. From a business standpoint, I was a nobody. I was a backup singer, not an artist who could sell records. On her own, they saw the song as a guaranteed blockbuster, and to maximize its success, they wanted another superstar on the track. Names like Winona Judd and Trisha Yearwood were floated artists at the absolute peak of their careers. A Reba and Winona duet, that would have been an earthquake in country music. The label put a ton of pressure on Reba to pick a bigger name. They tried to make it work with Winona, but for whatever reason, it just never came together. This went on for a while. This back and forth. It was tough. I mean, I got the label's point of view. It made perfect business sense. But it was also heartbreaking to have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity dangling right in front of me, only to have it threatened by industry politics. This is where Reba showed who she really was. She believed in me, and she wasn't backing down. She fought for me. She went to the label heads and basically said, no, it's going to be Linda. She's the one singing this song with me. For an artist of her stature to use her power to lift someone else up like that is almost unheard of. She was putting her own reputation on the line, betting on me when the suits were saying no. It was an act of loyalty I'll never, ever forget. In the end, Reba won. The label reluctantly agreed. Now the pressure was really on. I had to go in there and deliver a performance that proved she was right. Walking into the studio to record Does He Love You with Reba McEntire felt like stepping into a boxing ring for a title fight. You could feel the anticipation in the air. Everyone knew this wasn't just another track. After all the drama with the label, after Reba went to the mat for me, I knew I couldn't just be good. I had to be great. I had to prove I belonged on that record. We stood in our separate vocal booths, facing each other through the glass. The lights were low. The song is a... We were set to perform the song live on the broadcast, the biggest night in country music. The Grand Ole Opry House was buzzing. Every star, every executive, was in that audience. Performing on live TV for millions of people is like walking a tightrope with no net. Backstage was a controlled chaos. People were running around with headsets. Artists were getting ready. And that brings me back to the moment I mentioned earlier. We were standing in the wings, seconds from our introduction. The stage manager was giving us the countdown. My heart was pounding. My mind was racing. Asterisk, don't forget the lyrics. Hit the notes. Don't trip. Asterisk, Reba must have seen the panic on my face. She leaned over, calm as ever, and grabbed my hand. The whole world just stopped. She looked me right in the eye and said, Linda, let's just go out there and have a good time. Just sing the song. You've got this. It sounds so simple, but in that moment, it was everything. It wasn't a command to be perfect. It was an act of grace. It was the superstar reminding the newcomer that we were just two singers telling a story. It cut through all the pressure and grounded me. It was one final quiet act of mentorship before pushing me onto the world stage. We walked out. The applause was deafening, and the opening chords began. The performance was powerful and emotional. And when we sang the final note, the whole Opry House just erupted in a standing ovation that went on and on. We met at the center of the stage and hugged. It was pure triumph. Later that year, the song won Vocal Event of the Year at the CMA Awards. Walking up on that stage with Reba to accept that award in 1994 was a dream I never even knew I was allowed to have. But the moment I'll always carry with me was that quiet conversation in the wings, a perfect snapshot of our relationship. The CMA award was incredible, but the song's journey wasn't over. It had become a cultural moment. Then came the Grammy nominations. We were nominated for Best Country Vocal Collaboration. The Grammys are a whole other level. It's recognition from your peers across every genre of music. Just getting the nomination was mind-boggling. The night of the Grammys was surreal. It was in New York City, and I felt like a small-town girl who'd stumbled into the biggest party on the planet. I was sitting with my husband, Lang, just trying to soak it all in. When our category came up, I held my breath. They read the nominees, and then they said it, and the Grammy goes to Reba McEntire and Linda Davis for Does He Love You? Time just stopped. I was a Grammy Award winner. Walking to that stage was a blur. I remember the weight of that statue. It felt so real, and standing there, I just felt this overwhelming wave of gratitude. Gratitude for the songwriters, the producers, my family, and most of all, for Reba. This incredible life-changing moment happened for one reason. She believed in me. She fought for me, and here we were, holding Grammys because of it. That success was the key that unlocked doors that had always been bolted shut. Before the song, I was a singer, struggling for a break. After, I was a Grammy-winning artist. The phone started ringing. Labels that wouldn't return my calls were suddenly interested. I signed a new record deal with Arista Records, a major label ready to back me as a solo artist. The duet gave me a platform. It led to my own successful singles, like Some Things Are Meant to Be, which became a top 15 hit, something that had been out of reach before. I wasn't just the other woman in the duet anymore. I had my own identity. I was touring as a solo act, seeing my own name on the charts, and building my own fan base. The dream I'd almost given up on had finally come true, and it was bigger than I ever could have imagined. Reba's mentorship hadn't just given me an education, it had given me a career. Years have passed since the whirlwind of Does He Love You? Nashville has changed, but the impact of that time on my life is as real as ever. Looking back, what stands out most isn't the awards or the hits. It's the lessons learned and the deep, enduring respect I have for the woman who gave me that shot. Our professional paths went in different directions, as they often do. I made my own albums, and Reba continued her reign as the queen of country. But the bond we forged never faded. The music business can be a place of temporary alliances, but what we had was a genuine friendship built on mutual respect. She was my boss, my duet partner, and my champion. One of the greatest joys of my life has been watching my own daughter, Hillary Scott, build her incredible career with her band, Lady A. As I watch her navigate this business, I find myself passing on the lessons Reba taught me, the importance of professionalism, of grace under pressure, of treating everyone with respect. The University of Reba offered a curriculum for a lifetime, and I've been lucky enough to pass it down a generation. My musical journey has also come full circle. In recent years, I've had the joy of recording and performing with my husband, Lang, and my daughter, Hillary. We even won Grammys together for our family's contemporary Christian album. My career was catapulted by a collaboration, and now it's settled into this beautiful rhythm of making music with the people I love most. But none of it the solo hits. The joy of performing with my daughter would have been possible without that time with Reba. Does He Love You is still a cornerstone of my story. People still come up to me to talk about it, to tell me where they were when they first heard it. It's become a piece of 90s country gold, and every time I hear it, think of the fight Reba put up for me, the magic in the studio, and the roar of the crowd at the CMA. It was a perfect storm of talent, timing, and friendship. So when people ask me what it was really like to work with Reba McEntire, I tell them this: it was like standing next to a force of nature and being invited to share in its power. She didn't have to do any of it. Her star was already blazing, but she chose to share the light. She chose to lift someone else up and create an opportunity where there wasn't one. At 61, you look back and see the moments that defined you. For me, so many of those crucial, life-altering moments have Reba's footprint on them. She was a mentor, a champion, and a friend. She taught me how to be a star, but more importantly, she taught me how to be a person of integrity in a business that often challenges it. The public saw the story of two women fighting over a man on stage, but the real story, the one behind the curtain, was one of unwavering support, incredible generosity, and a friendship that shaped a career and a life. My time with Reba gave me more than a hit song. It gave me a future I had only dreamed of, and for that, I will be grateful every single day. If you enjoyed this, look back at a legendary country collaboration. Give this video a like and subscribe for more stories behind the music. And let us know in the comments, what's your favorite memory of Does He Love You? We'd love to read them. Thanks for watching.